Hello and welcome to Pitch Perfect Baseball, where today we are talking about the New York Mets and their offseason so far. They have been by far the busiest team. They've made a lot of moves, some that I like, some that I don't like. They've put themselves in a position, and they've made some moves that won't affect the baseball that I will be getting into a bit as well. So we'll start with the not baseball stuff. Steve Cohen got approval today, got an approval yesterday from the New York City board saying that he can make a ton of upgrades around the area of Citi Field, including adding a casino. This would completely revitalize the subway station and really that whole neighborhood right outside of Citi Field. If you've ever been to Citi Field, you know that right outside of Citi Field is not the greatest. So if Steve Cohen is able to put a lot of money into that, Citi Field will be a much nicer ballpark. Now let's get to the baseball moves, and we'll start first with the Brandon Nimmo trade to Texas. So the Mets received Marcus Semien, a second baseman, and the Rangers received Brandon Nimmo, a left fielder who also played center field earlier in his career. So what do these two players bring to the table for their respective teams? For Nimmo, you have a good bat and a very good glove, and with Marcus Semien, you have an okay bat and an okay glove, but you have that extra leadership skills that could be the difference in who wins this trade. We'll see. You never know. It's really hard to predict a player's future. Semien is coming off the worst year of his career offensively. He only hit for a couple of home runs, only about 290 average. And again, playing second base, you also have Jeff McNeil, who apparently, as we'll talk about this in a few minutes, he has been getting into some conflicts with Francisco Lindor in the locker room. But so you've Jeff McNeil playing second. He has struggled recently too, so that might also be a reason they go out and pick up Marcus Semien. I don't like this trade. The Pitch Perfect Baseball approval rating is going to be a 2 out of 10. I do not like this trade for the New York Mets. If you're the Rangers, you pounce on that trade and you don't even give New York a chance to think about it, because that is not a good trade for the New York Mets. I think the Rangers got exactly what they needed. So what could the future of this look like here? What does this imply? What does this trade imply is what I'm saying here is the Mets now need another outfielder. They have two outfielders right now. They have Taylor and Soto. Obviously, those two players very good. Taylor has a great glove, not a great bat. Soto, not a great glove, but a very good bat. So what can we expect here? They need an outfielder. I expect them to go and at least try to be in on discussions with Schwarber, Tucker, or Bellinger. That doesn't mean they will definitely sign one of those players. I think the most likely chance is on the three of those guys. The most likely chance that one of them ends up in Queens would be Kyle Schwarber. It would also, the advantage of that is the other two players that they re-sign, they're not in your division, but you poach one of the better hitters in the league from your division rival. That is also very good news. So let's talk about what this means for the infield now. Jeff McNeil, who has had issues with Francisco Lindor, reports are coming out, and I think he's going to end up getting traded, pick up some prospects. You have Marcus Semien, and the backup for that position will be Jet Williams, who will also be the backup shortstop for Francisco Lindor. But the New York Mets have a good farm system right now. This team is set up to win now and in the future. And I like that Steve Cohen is aggressive in spending money. I don't like trading away Brandon Nimmo, but it is what it is. So now let's talk about let's go a little bit more into detail about the situation between McNeil and Lindor and more about what they can do here. The New York Mets have a crisis on their hands right now. Lindor and McNeil, two guys who are very big names in Queens, two guys who have been crucial parts to when they've won and have really, when they haven't been doing well, it has really been a struggle for those two players, especially Lindor. Lindor is really the heartbeat of this Mets organization right now. He led the team in 2024 to the NLCS. He was crucial in getting them there. And this season, he had a really rough year, and it has hurt the New York Mets organization a lot. So what can New York do about this? if it comes to trading one of them, trade Jeff McNeil. Yes, you won't get as much back, but you just got a really good second baseman, and you end up keeping Francisco Lindor, one of the best shortstops in the game, and a guy who is really the heartbeat of this team. All right, now let's talk about potential moves of the future. We just touched up on the potential trades with Lindor and McNeil, but all right, so free agents outside of New York that could come in. I think they definitely need an outfielder. Schwarber, Bellinger, Tucker are the three guys that I've heard most about. I think of those three, the Mets are most likely to sign Schwarber. Schwarber has played well. Another name that could end up in the mix for a free agent signing is Alex Bregman playing third, and that would be the case if Alonso doesn't come back. If Alonso doesn't come back, the Mets are much more likely to try and go out and get a guy like oh my god, I can't even speak right now. But they're more likely to go out and get a big third baseman and move Vientos to first. So if that becomes the case, the Mets need something in their lineup in the infield. The middle infield's looking good. Corner infield right now, not looking good. And let's talk about the final hitter we really need to talk about before we move on to our pitching is Pete Alonso. Are they going to pick him up is the real big thing. If the Mets pick him up, if the Mets keep Alonso, they would look really good because you have that strong first baseman, good defender, one of the best hitters in the league, is the Mets' all-time home run leader. He struggled a little bit this year, but not too much. And then you wouldn't have the issue at third. You could have Beatty and Vientos keep fighting for that third base spot. You don't need to go out and get these big guys like Bregman. And I think the outfield situation would be easier. But now let's move on to the pitching. Reports have come out that Kodai Senga, who is in trade talks, does not want to leave New York. He wants to stay in Queens. And I think this means he will not get traded this season unless we trade him to Detroit and get something like Tarek Skubal back. That would be the only way I would want to trade him. So pitching wise, the Mets are struggling right now. They did sign Devin Williams today, who had a good season last year, but he is infamous in Mets history for giving up a big home run to Pete Alonso in 2024 that led them to the NLCS after they beat Philly and then lost to LA in the National League Championship Series. So what does this move mean for Edwin Diaz? So you sign a guy like Devin Williams. He doesn't have to be a closer. He can end up being a setup man. The Mets need a setup man. I read a couple articles that were saying, and this one that I'm going to say here this one was specifically from the MLB app. The best seasons of Devin Williams have been when he is a closer. Has been a setup man, sorry. So where do the Mets want to slot him in? If the Mets are still looking for a closer, it's very likely that they still go out and try and sign Edwin Diaz. Edwin Diaz has had a couple great seasons with the Mets, including last year when he was spectacular. All right, and then finally, let's talk about the starters. Sean Manaea, after having an off season, what are the Mets' plans for Sean Manaea? My guess is they're going to keep him. He's still a good pitcher. He had one off year. He's still a good pitcher. They need to get another starting pitcher. There's not a ton of great starting pitchers on the market, but there's a couple good ones. So, and most of them are pretty cheap, too. You don't have to go out and spend $100 million for 2 years. I mean, you can go out and get a guy, and the only starting pitcher I would want to trade for would be Tarek Skubal. If the Mets make another trade that isn't Tarek Skubal, I mean, unless they buy someone from a team like the Marlins who seems like they like just selling players off for cash, I would not give away any other prospects for anyone except Tarek Skubal right now. So, let's talk about the rest of the starting pitching and how the bullpen will slot in with them. So my guess for the rotation this year so far is Kodai Senga, Sean Manaea, and then it seems like anybody could get in. I think Dom Hamill has a really good shot. I think it's going to be McLean. I think it's going to be Tong. And those two players were really good last season at the end of the year. But if those two players can get in. So finally, let's wrap this video up soon. But finally, what is Steve Cohen and David Stearns going to do here? David Stearns and Steve Cohen are the type of people who want to go out and win every single season. There are some teams who don't spend money. The Mets are not one of those teams. The Mets are going to go out every year and spend money. They just spent $750 million for 15 years of Soto. I don't think the Soto deal has been bad yet. People can say that. He still went 40-40 this year. That is a good year. He is not the reason the Mets missed the playoffs, so I don't understand the hate on Soto right now. He's deserved every penny of the contract that Stearns and Cohen have given them. But where do we go from here? The most important thing the Mets can do this season is re-sign Pete Alonso and re-sign Edwin Diaz. Then they need an outfielder. I hope we end up with Bellinger would be my hope. But a guy like Schwarber Tucker would get the job done. So, in the end, the New York Mets have a lot of options here. I say don't make any trades unless you're able to get Skubal. Re-sign Pete, re-sign Edwin, and then go out and get a good corner outfielder. That's all they have to do. It doesn't have to be a tough offseason. And the Mets are a team that have been made fun of. So don't be that team again. And try and do your best this season. But I thank you so much for watching this video. And if you enjoyed this content, please like and subscribe. And I'll see you soon.